All right, everyone, welcome back into another props video. Going to be touching on the top prop bets in college football on this Saturday for both PrizePicks and Underdog. Let's go ahead and get into it. Now, I do want to start out this video with showing you guys some discounts that are currently available on Underdog. These are bets that we can use with our Underdog bet slips that are going to be out there during this video. But looking into it, guys, we are getting a bunch of good Underdog bets on paper here, several of really good ones. Now, the one I want to start with showing you guys is going to be a pretty good EV bet one. And really the way we can kind of look at it would be by taking off the fantasy score and receiving yards props. We'll get back into that. But we have a good kicking prop, which is going to be one that we can use on both sites. So we got Burt Auburn for under 6.5 for a kicking points prop line. This one has a 54% edge. Now, my concern is that this one's going to be gone by the time a lot of you guys get in here to bet this one. If it is, obviously, no need to go out of your way to bet on it. But I did want to start out the video with this for those that are going to be watching this. I am recording this pretty late, so it's not one of those situations where I think a lot of people are going to get to this right away. But if it's still available in the morning when you guys are watching this, by all means, that's going to be a good prop bet. Now let's go ahead and get into some of these other prop bets that we were getting. We got Henderson for under his fantasy score. And what we're going to notice with these Underdog props is a lot of them are favoring the under because, well, a lot of these players are not likely to score a touchdown. It's pretty much the name of the game when it comes to these fantasy score prop bets. Underdog has typically been a little bit higher than PrizePicks as well. We see that more so with NFL, which I'll be coming out with a video tomorrow on that. But we are still seeing that with PrizePicks as well in some cases. So Henderson is someone that really went off in the last game against Townsend. But that game was, I don't want to say it was a blowout. I mean, in 18 points, Cincinnati was able to score 3 touchdowns right away in that game, which kind of, I don't want to say put the game on ice, but I don't think there's ever concern about them losing that game. Easy competition. He was able to destroy them and had a really good game there, as we can see here. Now, if we look at that game between Cincinnati and Pittsburgh, it doesn't seem like there's going to be that much defense played. The game total is almost 63 points, but it is a 2-point spread. So it is supposed to be a closer scoring game. This is one that I already bet. I feel fine betting it, but at the same time, I wouldn't blame you guys if you want to pass up on it. I could see him having another good game. Again, it's mostly dependent on him scoring a touchdown or not. Scored a touchdown last week. Is he a little bit less likely to score this week? Well, that's what Vegas is seemingly thinking. The next prop bet is another decent one, I would say. Looking at it between the projection data, between the average sportsbook line, we're getting a decent prop line difference between what that's saying, but what Vegas is thinking and what PrizePicks and Underdog are kind of thinking is going to happen here for Finn. Now, Finn is someone that, based off of last week, and I don't think we need to go in too much of last week's results, but last week, a tough matchup, or based off of last week, could be a tough matchup this week going against Utah. Okay, looking at it as well, he was barely able to get the over, and I don't want to say like barely, I guess, because it was a blowout. Like, if the game stays close, he's probably still getting the over, but only one rushing touchdown that was same. I don't want to say only as well, but one rushing touchdown that really was the difference between him getting that over or not getting that over. And extremely efficient, obviously, with throwing 2 touchdowns, had 2 INTs and a fumble lost as well. So kind of a mixed bag there. And we look at this game in comparison to the other game. Baylor's going to be 14.5-point dogs in this game, so going to be needing to throw the football in this game against a more difficult matchup. Also a lower scoring game. Now, this is more normal, I would say. But obviously, given the fact that they're favored for the under, I personally like this bet a little bit more than that first bet that we saw in Underdog. And then we go ahead and continue on. We got another prop bet, Kyle McCord for under his fantasy score. Basically the exact same thing where the line's just a little bit lower, and I'm assuming that just has to do with the ability to score a touchdown, or the likelihood for him to score a touchdown. Now, I could see why you don't want to run this under because, well, he went off in his last game. Now, that was a matchup against Ohio. Going to be a little bit more difficult of competition here going against Georgia Tech. But the head coach was extremely excited about the production, saying, oh, I can't believe Ohio State gave us this player. He's elite and everything. I feel a good story for sure. Can he do it again? That's the biggest question. The data doesn't think so, but this is another one where I could see myself not wanting to bet it, and I'm sure some of you guys watching this are like, yeah, I don't want to touch that one, and I get it. And looking at the game total, it is a pretty high-scoring game as well, and a close game, so, put those together, and it does make me a little bit weary about that one. So far, really like this first one that's popping up on the board, and then these next two, or the other two, if you want to roll with them, you can. I'd be fine with you guys passing up on them. Then the last of the fantasy score prop bets that we have in terms of really good ones. Mensa for under fantasy score of 15.45. Again, the projection data, it gives them at about 12.7. The average sports line 9.6. And again, guys, that's just coming down to the likelihood of them scoring a touchdown, factoring that into the calculation of fantasy score. And so again, just looking at it, guys, this is going to be a more difficult matchup. Again, based off of last week's data, I want to go too crazy with that, but we can see 15th ranked matchup on or in this week's action. He is someone that last week, played fine, but only 12 pass attempts, 2 touchdowns in that game. Game was a blowout there. So when we go ahead and look at the game preview for this game, we're going to see 8.5 point dogs or so, maybe a little bit more. 47 is going to be the game total. So we look at this game, it's going to be a low scoring game, and it's a game in which Tulane's probably going to be playing from behind. Now, that might mean they're going to throw the football a little bit more, but that's also going to mean they're not playing well if that happens. And so I would say this one and that second one that I mentioned are my 2 favorite prop bets on Underdog that I feel comfortable using with these discounts that are available right there. I have them grayed out because I already used these ones. And then again, we're going to be using that kicking prop there as well. So I'll show you guys this bet of the day, and then we'll get into the PrizePicks bet of the day. Now, real quickly, I do want to show you guys one other prop bet that's kind of popping up as well. Just a big prop line difference. So we look at the underdog line for receiving yards here, 36.5. We look at the average Vegas line, 41.75 on average, and PrizePicks has it at 40. So we are seeing that this is a clear outlier here. I mentioned on last week's video, we had one passing prop that was a major prop line difference where we could potentially middle. We got lucky. It hit on both ends. I think it was on Underdog was the higher, hit by 0.5, and then on PrizePicks it easily cashed. Not exactly that case, but this is a big prop line difference that we're seeing. So we can game this by betting the over receiving yards here on Underdog. And so we got 2 bets in the early slate of action that we can feel pretty comfortable with, knowing that we're gaining a pretty good edge here. Tulane's quarterback for lower fantasy score does draw a difficult matchup there. And then Burt Auburn for his under kicking points of 6.5. That's the best pure EV bet that we have. And so we want to use those first, and then I'll show you guys one from the afternoon. Now, I will say they did just take this away, but they bumped it up to 21, which was weird. So obviously we'd want to really bet the under there. So just be on the lookout for this line, what it updates to throughout the morning. If it's higher, obviously we'd want to bet the lower. If it goes any lower than this, well, we'll see. Obviously check out back to the 9 to 5 data to see what's going on there. Just showing you guys a discount that I went ahead and used it with. If you guys want to pair all 3 of those prop bets with a discount, by all means, go for that. For the rest of them, I actually did 5 slip bets, flex bets for that as well. All right, so now we go ahead and jump on into the PrizePicks bets that we have here, guys. And I would say we're getting some better edges here for the most part, but some question marks as well with some of these players. So, with Hunter, he is someone that only played 21 snaps last week. He is in a game where they're almost 12-point favorites. Not the highest scoring game as well. So the question is it a blowout? When does the blowout occur? All that stuff. How many snaps is he going to play again? So we look at his snaps. I mean, this is crazy. 4 rushing attempts, 53 yards, and a touchdown last week. And he only played 21 snaps. So is that a sign of things to come? And I would say kind of when you're comparing the assets, I guess, in this game, you got Peyton Thorne, who threw for 4 touchdowns in the first week. Is that something that's going to continue again? Because they usually could. So they might just not try to rush the football that much. They might just try to sustain that passing attack. And again, if it's going to be a blowout, how much can we really trust that he's going to get a lot of work there with Hunter? So a decent prop bet there. From there, we have Allen for under his fantasy score. Again, just looking at this one, guys, this is going to be one where just looking at the projection data, looking at the average sportsbook line, we are clearly getting an edge, and especially compared to the underdog line as well, we are going to see that PrizePicks is just a little bit too high here. So this is going to be one of the better edge bets that we have. Now, the issue is Allen could easily go off. I don't think anyone's going to doubt that. Looking at the game again, it is a close game and in a high-scoring game. So I don't exactly like the fact that we are going to be attacking the game where there's really no, blowout risk in a good way, where we get these kind of star players out of the game early. Now, they could be part of the reason as to why it's a blowout, but at the same time, reducing their snaps is never a terrible thing. But that's going to be one of the better bets that we have. And then we also have an over fantasy score bet. And the thing about college football, and you guys will see again tomorrow with the NFL, is whenever we get these over fantasy score lines on a slate, that stands out to me because we are getting so many under fantasy scores because of how Underdog and PrizePicks are valuing touchdowns compared to how they're likely to happen They're a little bit fluky and everything, but in college football is a little bit harder to predict than NFL data-wise. But this what stands out to me whenever we get a bet like this where the over fantasy score is what we're being told to do. I like that. And so again, this is one where I know Underdog is taken away, but be on the lookout for this because this is a bet that we could be wanting to make as well on Underdog. It'd be a little bit better there, but the projection data 14.4, average sports line 14. And so it's about a 15 at 14, but when you put it at 12.5, it's a decent edge that we're getting there. And so that to me is probably my favorite bet that we were getting. And he played in 75% of the snaps last week in a game that was a blowout. And he was still able to get the over last week. He's been on a nice trend line as well. The issue that I have with that is that the next ones that we have is quarterback. We're seeing that the under fantasy score is a good bet. That doesn't correlate. And we also are seeing another one later on where the under fantasy score is another good bet. So it does feel like we have to go one or the other there with them, whether we're doing Stribling for under his fantasy score paired with Bowman. It's up to you guys. I'm going to be going Owens, though, for his over fantasy score. I do think we want to be choosing one or the other, so I wouldn't blame you if you chose Bowman for his under fantasy score. From there, the next one that I really want to call out to you guys is going to be Corey Kiner for his under rush yards. So the issue that we have here is that he is projected to get 70, so slight concern there. But again, we are getting a decent prop line difference in terms of the underdog line, which is much more true to the average sportsbook line of about 60. And at the line of about 60, 59, whatever, about a 50-50 split there. And so we can see this line that we're getting at 65. That's around 6 yards that we're getting a difference on. And Kiner is someone that only played 27 snaps last week. Now, in that 27 snaps, he was able to get 51 rushing yards. So going back to this game with Cincinnati, they did have a pretty early lead. And so they probably were limiting their starters a little bit, but at the same time, much more difficult competition. And this game's higher scoring, and it is a close game. So don't exactly love that. But again, big prop line difference. I did want to call that out. And then again, Burt Auburn for the under kicking points. That's a good prop bet that we are getting as well. Then last, I did just want to show you guys some of the other prop line differences that we were getting out there. Some of these are going to be 50-50 splits. Nothing too crazy there, but I did just want to show you guys that. And so my top two for PrizePicks are going to be highlighted here, guys. I feel comfortable with those bets. And then again, with the kicking prop, if we can use that, let's go ahead and do that. But that's going to be all for tonight's video. Or today's video, most of you guys in the morning, I guess. Make sure to give a like and subscribe to the channel. If you guys want access to the 9to5 tools, head on over to 9to5sports.com. You can get them for $10 a month, or you can use this promo code, Keep Cashing, to get 20% off your first 9to5 membership. I'll make it an $8 a month membership. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Good luck. Make sure to give a like and subscribe. And as always, let's keep cashing.